Welcome to Crisis in Perception. This is where we examine the systems that are shaping our world. And today, using Naomi Klein's incredible book, Doppelganger, as our guide, we're going to dig into our strange, fractured reality and maybe see things just a little more clearly.
So let's start with a question that I think is on a lot of our minds. Why does everything feel so broken, so divided? To even begin to answer that, we need to explore a really powerful concept Klein introduces for our times, the mirror world.
Okay, first things first, we need to actually identify the system that we're all caught in. Klein gives it a name. She calls it the mirror world. Now, this isn't some sci-fi alternate reality. No, it's the digital ecosystem we're swimming in every day. It looks a lot like our world, but everything is warped. This is the place where you feel like you're losing people you care about down these bizarre ideological rabbit holes, leaving you just scratching your head and wondering, what on earth happened to them?
See, in this mirror world, we all have doubles. In fact, we have at least two. First, there's the aspirational avatar. That's the one we create, our personal brand, the carefully perfected version of ourselves we perform for everyone online. But then there's the digital golem. That's the double we don't make. It's made of us, pieced together from all our data trails by algorithms, all to predict what we'll do next.
So how does a world like this actually work? What makes it tick? Well, to understand that, we have to look at the engine that drives the whole thing, the logic of its incentives. It all boils down to something brutally simple. Attention is the only currency that matters. And what gets the most attention? Extreme takes, absolute unshakable certainty, and never-ending conflict. The platforms, the influencers, they're all rewarded for mastering that game. And here's the playbook, the engagement engine itself. Step 1, create something extreme, something that sparks outrage. Step 2, the algorithm sees people reacting and amplifies it to the moon. Step 3, you capture a loyal audience from that. And finally, step 4, you monetize that audience's outrage and identity. It is a crazy, powerful feedback loop.
Klein makes this so real through her own uncanny experience of being constantly confused with her doppelganger, Naomi Wolf. She uses it to show just how powerful these rewards are. For anyone who figures out how to play the game, the mirror world offers everything they might feel they're missing, just in a twisted, distorted form.
Okay, so what happens when this entire system scales up and becomes the water we all swim in? Well, these incentives don't just distort individuals, they predictably start to distort our entire society.
When that engine is running at full tilt, the outcomes are pretty damaging. The line between what's real and what's just a performance gets hopelessly blurry. You see these strange new political alliances pop up across old divides. And maybe most importantly, our society fragments, making it almost impossible to come together and act on huge, real-world problems.
And here is the single most crucial swap that happens. Look, a lot of us feel like the system is rigged, right? A systemic analysis tries to figure out how wealth, power, and corporations actually rig it. But the mirror world offers a much simpler, much juicier answer. It's not a complex system. It's a secret cabal of evil people pulling all the strings.
To really help us get our heads around this entire sprawling system, Klein gives us this one really potent structural metaphor that just snaps it all into focus. But I don't want you to think of a fun house at a carnival, something you can just walk out of. This one is designed to be immersive, pervasive, and very, very hard to leave. It's a hall of mirrors, but it's set inside a giant shopping mall. Everywhere you turn, you see distorted reflections of yourself, of your friends, of your enemies. And here's the twist. Every single reflection is branded. It's monetized. It's for sale. And the longer you stay inside and just browse, the more lost you get, and the harder it is to find the exit back to anything resembling a shared reality. So all of this brings us right to the core issue, the fundamental problem at the heart of her analysis. It's a crisis in perception itself. You might be wondering, why doesn't a system this crazy just collapse? Well, because it's actually incredibly stable. You have network effects keeping everyone locked in, you have these massive gaps in trust for major institutions, and you have the simple hard fact that outrage is just so darn profitable. All of that keeps the machinery humming along, even when we can see how distorted everything is. And this is the crisis in perception. It's what happens when we get trapped inside that hall of mirrors, fighting like hell over the reflections, arguing and screaming about which distorted image is the real one, instead of stepping back and seeing the actual machinery that's producing all of them in the first place. And that, ultimately, is the real function of the mirror world. It is brilliant at diverting all of our anger, all of our attention, towards each other. It keeps us fighting, so we don't see the underlying economic and political structures that are profiting from the chaos, the very systems that reward branding over solidarity and performance over truth. And that leaves us with one final and I think really crucial question to ask ourselves. In a world that is constantly demanding that we perform our best selves and project our worst fears onto others, what aren't we seeing? What real problems, what deep injustices, and what chances for real connection are we missing entirely? Crisis in Perception examines how systems shape belief and how better tools help us see clearly. This project is free and publicly accessible. If you'd like to support the time, tools, and research behind Crisis in Perception, you can become a supporter on Patreon.
For a longer audio-based analysis of this topic, see the deep dive linked in the description.
If you enjoy this kind of systems-level analysis, please like, subscribe, and comment with books or topics you'd like us to explore next.